Okay, in section 5, we start to read about color values in our text. And for this project, for the first part of assignment 5A, we're going to create our own color scale, adjusting the value of colors. So open a new Inkscape document, and then we're going to save it in our section 5 assignments file, and we're going to call it value. So name this file value and save. And as always, I like to view Zoom page, so I have my whole page showing. And the very first thing we're going to do is create a, let me get that back up here. We're going to create a background for our color value chart. So grab your rectangle tool and start at the top left corner of your canvas and click and drag down to the bottom left corner. Then go ahead to view, object, fill and stroke, and go to your color wheel tab. So under fill, go to your color wheel, and then it says to choose a green color, and then go to the bottom of your triangle to choose a nice gray color. So when you get a gray color that you like, go ahead and stay with that. And that is the background of our project so far. So now we're going to open up our layers panel, and we're going to click on layer 1 and name it background, and then click the plus sign to add a layer, and we're going to call this layer squares, and then lock your background layer so we don't make any more unwanted adjustments to that. Then go grab your rectangle tool, and up in the top left corner of your canvas, hold down Control and drag out to make a nice looking square. It might look pretty close to your canvas color. That's okay. We're going to go in and change that right now. Under your fill and stroke panel, go down to HSL, and we're going to drag all of our sliders of hue, saturation, and light, and we're going to drag them all the way to the left. And then you'll also notice my opacity slider here was left on 50 from a previous project, so I want to make sure that if your opacity slider is moved, make sure that's all the way to the right at 100%. So we should have a nice black square. Now we're going to copy and paste that square 5 times so that we have 6 squares total. You don't have to worry about them lining up just right, because we're going to show you a quick way to do that at the end of this project, but I want to at least separate them so I can see the lines in between. So you have 6 squares in your first column. On your second black square, under our HSL tab, we're going to drag our lightness slider to about 50, or I like to go ahead, you could go ahead and just highlight and type in 50. That's kind of probably what I'll do here on out. And then on the third square, we want a lightness of 100. Fourth square, a lightness of 150. Fifth square, a lightness of 200. And our last square, we want it completely white at 255. So you should have a nice gray scale here in this first column. Next, we're going to select all those squares, hit Control-C to copy and Control-V to paste, and we're going to make another color value column here, and this time we're going to make it red. Click off to the side there to unselect your group of squares. Then choose your top square, and you should have all the sliders clear to the left, except for now we want to move our saturation slider clear to the right. And it's still going to look black, but we changed it to the red. It's going to have more of a red base, and we're going to do that with all of these squares in this column. So click on each square and then drag that saturation slider all the way to the right, and we have our red color value column. So now we want to copy all the squares in our second column, Control-C, Control-V, and click off to deselect all of them. We're going to create a green color square, or color value column. So click the first square at the top of our third column And then we're going to drag our hue slider over to about 90, give us a green color. And same with our second square and our third square. So now we're just changing the hue of each of these squares, because the lightness and saturation is all already changed on them because we copied and pasted it. We're just making it a green color scale. So your third column should look like this. Lastly, we're going to make one more column, so select all of those squares, Control C, Control V, and we're going to make a blue color value column now. So click off to the side to deselect and click on your top square. And now we want to set our hue at 170. So we have a nice blue color there. And again, with the second square down, 170. And the third square, 170. All the way to the bottom. And now we have our blue color value column. So now I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to group all of these squares together and get them side by side. Do that by first clicking and dragging over all of our squares so that they're all selected. Then under Object, we're going to go down to Rows and Columns. And you're going to select so that there are 5 rows and 4 columns. Excuse me, 6 rows and 4 columns. So if you just click up your up arrow once to get 6, that on mine it automatically adjusts my columns to 4. So then we want to make sure that set spacing is selected, and under spacing we're going to set it at a value of -1.0 in both those options. And we're going to select Arrange. And hopefully yours doesn't do this. I'm not sure why mine is today, because it didn't before. But for some reason it likes to really jumble up my squares. Hopefully yours isn't, and hopefully all your color values stayed in the same columns. I'm not sure why mine's doing this, but if yours does the same thing as mine, don't worry about it. I will understand when you turn it in. The last thing we're going to do is under our Fill and Stroke panel. We're going to go to Stroke and just make sure that no paint is selected for stroke, because we don't want a bunch of lines in between our squares. So when you're done, it should look something like this. Hopefully one I made before turned out a little better. Here's what it should look like by the time you're done. Again, I'm not really sure why mine jumbled up all my squares on that last one, but if yours does that, that's fine. Hopefully yours turns out like this. But if it did turn out the other way, I will not take off for that, don't worry. And that is the last step to this value project. Go ahead and save that, and this will be part of your 5A assignment. You'll also be zipping this along with your still life that I add on to in the next video.